Merry Christmas to you, and today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded on December 24th, 2017, and it's titled, Living Brightly, Affirming, I Let My Light Shine for All the World to See. And today's music is from our very own Artistic Director Rebecca Jade and the Seaside Choir. We also have included a link in the show notes for today for the Candlelight video photo album, which was done on the 22nd for the Candlelight service.
Good morning, Seaside.
Good morning.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. It is my honor to introduce our guest artists. And today it's going to be myself as well as the beautiful Seaside Choir. So I wanted to do a song for you this morning. It's kind of one of my favorites of the holiday season. And it's a great song. And I think you all will probably be familiar with it. Hope you enjoy.
That is our very own Rebecca Jade. Oh, man, what a gift you are to us. Week after week, you just keep living brightly and do that in front of us all.
I feel the same about you and. and everybody here. Thank you so
much. No, absolutely. Rebecca Jade. All right. So today is about living brightly, and it is really that Christmas message, that holiday message. It's about letting your light shine so people can see, singing boldly and being who you are. And what I know is, as a child, for me and probably most kids, one figures out because of Christmas, something happens. There is just a shift that takes place in the collective consciousness, a sense of possibilities and love. And I got it, at least for, when I first saw my string of colored lights hanging out the side, I knew something was different in the world at that moment. And when you hear your first carol and the heart opens and the spirit moves and the magic takes place and something pours forth, and all of a sudden there is that natural sense of a desire to give and to share and to be and to love and to express, and for peace on earth and a place to be, for our kids to grow. And it's all this wonderful flow that comes through us that is just powerful. And I was so proud of Seaside in this holiday season in our expression of givingness. I mean, we as a community took on the project of supporting the Community Resource Center in the Holiday Basket Project. And we're not talking about like Easter baskets. We were talking about shopping baskets for 1,500 families, 50 pounds of food for everybody, and blankets and coats and bicycles and things. And not only that did we give, but over $4,000 you guys threw in our little bucket to give to the Community Resource Center, which was fabulous. And then we followed up a couple weeks ago with that woman, that Syrian refugee with the 5 kids, and a couple years ago showed up in the U.S. They were blessed to be welcomed into our country, but after being middle-class citizens that got displaced in Syria and their lives upended, and to stand here and the support that came out, they had been working on saving money for a couple years so they could have a car or a van to get around. And we contributed over $1,800 that put it over the top so they could buy their vehicle for the first time ever in America. I was just so proud of Seaside and the way our hearts open up. And I mean, story after story. Last week, the kids from the school came down to sell things because they were working on a school to help a school over in Africa, and they raised what they had a goal for, and they sent us a letter. I wanted to share it with you, and all the kids signed it. I mean, very cute. But I mean, this is just what we do naturally. It touches my heart. I love it. It says, "Thank you, Seaside, so much for letting our school sell ornaments, succulents, and lanterns. We raised enough money to meet our goal. Sierra Leone recently had a major flooding, and because the rainy season came early, they were in trouble. So thanks to you, we can help Hope School repair the classroom and buy supplies. Your congregation was so generous and kind, and we are so grateful, and we look forward to working with you together. Please let us know if there's anything our partnership can do to help you guys." I mean, those are the kids. And this is just the last few weeks. And what I've noticed is all these things I just feel good about. And I love something that the poet, wonderful poet, David White, the Irish poet, he said that anyone or anything that doesn't bring you more alive is too small for you. Yeah. I mean, if it's just don't get turned on and become more alive and dynamic and engaged, it's too small for you. It's not what is really working, because you know what? You came into this world to share your light, to share who you are, to live your passion, and to do your thing. And as you begin to activate that, you can live brightly. You can stand in front of people and say, "Hey, this is what I am doing in the world." And as we allow that birth of that greater consciousness, that greater awareness that we call the Christ consciousness, as we allow that Christ consciousness to move through us, we are able to step out in a world with a sense of power. Jesus said, and I believe it was in the 16th chapter of John, he said that I have overcome the world. I have overcome the challenges that were going on at that time, whether it was in his life, in his body, in his ministry. I have overcome that. And that is a statement of an alignment with spirit, what we call a Christ consciousness or a Krishna consciousness or a Buddha consciousness. Hey, what I can do, you can do too. You can overcome the difficulties of the times, of economic situations, of the difficulties in the physical body that the doctor said cannot be healed, or overcome the governmental dynamics of the time, or whatever the issue is going on, to recognize that they are an outpicturing, that some like to say they're an illusion. What they are is the manifestation or the reflection of your consciousness. And as you can move to that level of Christ consciousness, you can overcome anything in this world. And the key to that is to recognize that you are an expression of spirit, that presence of God is in you. You know, the kingdom is within. The presence of God is within. And also what is important is to recognize, and this is the key, because a lot of people, the kingdom of God's within, the spirit is within, or some will even go as far as I'm an expression of spirit. But also what's really important, I feel, is to know that God, spirit, is the only thing there is. Like all the religions say, God's infinite. And you hear me talk about this all the time. But if spirit is infinite, there cannot be anything else at that spiritual level. So the challenges in this world may be so in the physical realm, but we are coming from that spiritual place where there is no other power. And it is not this God power over another power. So often, my God's bigger than your God. And boom, we go to war. And man, there is no power that God needs to overcome, because God is the one and the only that we call a power. It is a presence. It is a life force. It is an essence. It is a vibrancy. It is all things. And as I come to recognize that is what I am, and it is moving through me as me. It's not like me separate from spirit. You know, I'm of that stuff because God is everything. Everything, that includes you. So what we want to do is create the room in our field of awareness so I can begin to express that in my life in the ways that are relevant. They're real. What are you working on? Call forth a new light, a greater presence, a greater understanding. What are you working on? There is no large or small. It's not like your project is big to that which is infinite, because it's everything. It is only big at the individual level of consciousness. But as you tap into that one mind and the universal presence, it begins to move. And Jesus said, at least in John 10:10, said, I've come that you might have life. He was talking about the thieves that come first. He said, the thieves come and they steal and they destroy. But I've come. Right? The thieves, but I've come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. 10:10, that's John. That you might have it more abundantly. I haven't come so you can struggle, that you're no better than the worm of the dust, that you can grovel and beg and wheel and deal. I have come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. That's the truth of your being here. You're not here to struggle. You are here to bring your gift. You are here to be that divine conduit to let that light shine. You have been touched by something that stirs in your soul, and you are to bring that forth and not have to worry about the abundant aspect of it. That will follow. So as you allow yourself to be in that place, in that presence of God, spirit begins to move. But what happens so often is the world wants to call your attention to that which isn't working. You know, but I've overcome this world. And so I got to believe, I got to know that's going to work, and not allow the sadness of what's going on to deny the light shining brightly. Because if you stop to think of the first Christmas, they had violence going on. You know, they had tax collectors doing their thing. They had issues with their government. They were a nation that was occupied. So you don't need to allow what's going on to create the sadness in your world. Your job is to bring joy to the world. Your job is to bring peace to the world. And how do you do that? You do that by letting your light shine brightly with a new thought, not with what the headlines grab, not what your environment is vibing you with. It's like, how can you be doing that? You know? No, what is it that is yours to do? That's what you're to do, because you get caught up, whether it's in your family or your friends or your world. They think, I don't get what you're doing. And there's this beautiful ad. It's from iPhone. And it's just, well, Marv, you want to play this?
They're here. Grandma.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Christmas, let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
Just because you don't get it doesn't mean it's wrong, To allow people their diverse expression, to allow the love to come out. And if we're playing multi-generational, we're not there. But what connects us through time and age and cultures is that love vibration. And the magic, I said, we know something happens around here because of Christmas. And what I've come to think about more and more is about one of the most glorious messes in the world is the mess that is left on the floor on Christmas Day. And with my son turning 18, what I've realized is we don't need to rush to clean up that mess because it says a lot about love. It says a lot about what is special in our family and spirit. And so how you choose to believe and how you choose to reach out is important. I read a couple weeks ago at the first service. I ran out of time. I didn't do it here. And it's like, and if you want to hear it, I'll do it. It's called Dogs' Letters to Santa. And there are a few requests from the dogs. And so, if there are a lot of you that heard it at the first service, I won't do it. Shall I read this? Okay, all right. I'll do that. Okay. Dear Santa, I love to play with the kids. We only have one kid in our family. Could you get another one for me for Christmas, please? Love, Roscoe, the dog. Dear Santa, please don't leave me any more dog biscuits for Christmas. I'm sick of eating those dog biscuits. How about a nice steak? Love, Fats. Dear Santa, they built a doghouse for me, but I don't like it because it doesn't have TV. Could you get me a doghouse with TV, please, or at least the cable? Love, Smokey. Let's see. Dear Santa, I just found out that my owner had another dog before me. Should I be jealous? Dear Santa Claus, I've been a good dog all year. I even refrained from chasing the new cat in the family. As a Christmas present, could you please find a new home for that cat? Last one here. Hey, dear Santa, I'm a sheepdog, and I live in the city. I never have seen a sheep in my life. Could you please give me a sheep for Christmas? So, it's just fun. It's, shining brightly is having fun, not getting caught up. There's enough serious stuff in our life. And what you get to be, if you're the bringer of the light, if you're going to be the one who's going to shine brightly, something Carlos Santana shared. And he's the one who fused, rock with the Latin music in the 60s. And he said, if you can carry joy in your heart, you can heal any moment. It's like, wow. What a simple philosophy. If I can be the bringer of joy, then I can shine brightly in any moment, in any situation, in any headline, whether it was 2,000 years ago when the country was occupied or there was violence and that. I'm going to be the one to bring joy and see a greater possibility that is there. And what I come to recognize, if something feels good to my soul, if something just turns you on, or as David White was saying, makes you come more alive, then my recommendation is do that. Pretty simple philosophy. If there's something that makes you come alive, if there's something that brings you joy, that turns your soul on, then do that. Let that be your thing to do. And remember, you don't have to worry about if you don't have to worry about funding it, I've come that you might experience abundance. I mean, that's what we are here to do, not to struggle, but to catch the grand idea, know that everything that needs to support that idea is already available because there is only one infinite presence, and I'm one with that. And so I'm just the one who needs to learn how to call it into expression, and that's what the Christ consciousness does, is it aligns with the allness of it all and calls forth those pieces to make that dream or that vision unfold its expression. No matter what, you can be going for whatever your dream is. If you can remember, there is no large or small in the mind of God. It's all already. You're the one who gets to claim it in your life at the level that's relevant for you. What is you looking for? There were a couple driving down the street, and they saw a sign in front of a house and it said antiques. And they thought this would be nice, so they pulled on over. And they went into the house, and there was these two mature women in their golden years, if you would. And so they were excited to see him. They invited them in their living room and made tea, and they sat down, and they were talking. And the guy finally said, "Can I see the antiques?" And one of the women kind of hesitantly saying, "You're looking at them." And she said, over the years, a number of our friends have been passing on, and we were down on friends, and we thought, what could we do? And we thought, well, people who like antiques like old things, and we thought, well, we'll just, did notice we put out the sign that said antiques, it didn't say antiques for sale, And the people have just come in. We've made a lot of good friends and wonderful friends, and it's just that kind of life that makes a difference. And those that make a difference in the world aren't necessarily credentialed, have the credentials, but they have the concern, they have the compassion, they have the comparing, and they've got the heart. And what makes a person beautiful? She is always seeing beauty in another person. That's the thing. You want to see a beautiful person, it's because they care. They see the beauty in other people. They are expressing their life and their love and just taking every moment to bring forth the joy that they're carrying in their heart because they are part of that Christ expression, that Christ light. And they have stepped in this world to be the conduit for the greater expression to come forth. They have the room. So there is the birth of a greater possibility, and they have given space to it, even if it's a kid on a cell phone that I don't understand why he's not engaging with us in the way in which we've always done it. But you know what? You open your heart and you're going to find something magical because you are seeing the beauty in another person. And when you see the beauty in another person, you call it forth. When you see the Christ in another person, you call that forth. When somebody is struggling and you see their wholeness, you call it forth because there is only one mind and there is a responsiveness to it. And if you have that space for the wonderful miracles of the holidays or any time, really, the magic happens in life. Those who find Christmas in their heart find Christmas everywhere. There was Bobby. He was a young guy sitting out in the Midwest in the snow and backyard, cold, been out there for a while, and he didn't have any boots. He didn't like boots. He didn't own any boots, actually. He had a pair of thin tennis shoes with holes in the bottom. He'd been out there for about an hour contemplating what he could get his mom for Christmas. And he finally realized that it didn't matter what he thought of, he didn't have the money, to get his mom anything. And his father had passed on 3 years earlier, and their family had pretty much been struggling since. Mom didn't try. I mean, she worked late nights in the hospital for minimum wage, but you could only stretch it so far. But what they lacked in finances or material things made up for the unity of family and the love. And Bobby had 3 sisters, 2 older sisters and 1 younger, and they held down the household when Mom was absent. And they were crafty. And so Bobby was thinking, it's not fair. My 3 sisters have already made Mom something for Christmas, and it's Christmas Eve, and I just don't have anything. And so he kind of left the backyard, kind of kicking snow, walking down the street. It's tough for a 6-year-old without a father. And when you need a man to talk to, but he thought he would just walk into town, and he was looking in town into the windows, the window decorations, and just dreaming of the possibilities and realizing how out of reach all of it was, and it was getting dark, and it was time to head back, and so he turned and started going home, and as the sun was setting, it shined off something shiny on the ground, and he bent over to pick it up, and it was a dime. It was a little dime, and in that moment, Bobby felt as wealthy as he had ever felt in his life, and he was so excited that he ran back to the first shop in town there, and he went in the store and presented it to the sales clerk and said, "I want to buy my mom a Christmas present." And he said, "You can't buy anything in the store for a dime." And instantly the cold came back, and he stepped out of the store, and he saw a flower shop across the street. So he crossed the street, and he got in line behind the customer in front of him. And when she was complete and he was up next, he talked to the store owner and said, "I've got a dime. Can I possibly get a flower for my mom for Christmas?" And the shop owner looked at the dime, and he looked in Bobby's eyes, said, put his hand on his shoulder, and said, "Wait here, let me see what I can do." So he went in the back and started working on stuff, and Bobby was looking around at all the beautiful flowers, and he thought, even for a boy, I can understand why moms and girls like flowers, And just that moment, the last customer, went out, closed the door, and they closed and shocked him back, and he realized he was alone in the flower shop, and now he's feeling scared. I'm a little kid by himself. And the guy came out from the back, and Bobby looked on the counter, and there were 12 long-stem red roses with leaves of green and little white baby breath flowers tied in a big silver bow. And the owner took these flowers and put them in a long white box and put the lid on the box. And Bobby, "Is this for me?" The owner said, "And that would cost 10 cents, young man." And the little kid just didn't know. And the guy got the reluctance. He said, "Well, just today we were having a sale on red roses, and they cost 10 cents. Would you want them?" And the kid said, "Yeah, and here's the dime." And he got the flowers. And it's like, oh, my God. And he's leaving, and the owner just opened up the door for little Bobby as he walked down. And as he was walking down, she said, "Merry Christmas, son." And closed the door. And his wife had come out from the back and said, "Who are you talking to? And what happened to those flowers, those roses you're fixing up?" And he said, "Something strange happened today. When I came in and I was getting ready to open up the shop, I heard this voice that said, 'Prepare a dozen of your best roses for a special gift.'" He thought I was crazy, or I thought I was crazy. I didn't know what it was I was hearing, but I did do that. And just a few minutes ago, a little boy walked into the shop with only one small dime and asked if he could buy a flower for his mom's Christmas gift. And as I looked into his eyes, I saw myself when I was a little boy. And I was a poor boy. And I remember the Christmas I had no money for my mom's Christmas gift. And there was a man on the street with a beard who I had never seen in my life and I never saw again, who gave me $10. I was able to get my mom a present. And now I know who that voice was. And I listened. And they just hugged each other. And they went to the door and stepped out into the cold. But they weren't cold, because something happened inside of them because of Christmas. And that's the magic of this time of year. Is there something that happens to those that have space at the inn for that Spirit to show up in a blessed kind of, abundant kind of, flowing kind of way? For the Christmas isn't something that's happening out there. It's something that's happening in here. And as I look at Seaside this season, the outpouring of love and the generosity just confirms for me what is taking place in the hearts of each and every one of us. And in a loving, collective way, this community is shining brighter than ever. And I'm just so proud and happy and honored to be part of a family that is you guys. Merry Christmas. I love you. Hey, let's keep it going as we bring back to the stage Leslie with some of her singers, including our very own Rebecca as part of that crew.
That was a good word. Merry Christmas! Happy New Year, happy holidays. So the song we're going to do is actually a song that's quite an old song. It's been around for a long time. It's in Latin, Dona nobis pacem, which means give us peace, which is what we all want, is peace in our hearts, peace in the world, peace in our family. So our prayer is, grant us peace.
That is part of the Seaside Choir under the direction of Leslie, who week after week drives up here from San Diego to work with this wonderful ministry, this wonderful group. So thank you. But love.